Pranams to everybody. Haribol, Haribol. Today is the 4th of April, Friday, 2025, and we're going to continue reading our introduction and also glorify a little bit Srila Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj, whose Abhirabhav is today. So Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tiralaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tara Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat pranams under the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astottarastara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions of times under the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astottarastara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vansha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhuvevacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So today is the Abhirabhav of Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj, who was one of the very first personalities to come to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati when he began his preaching mission. Right. He was working in a post office at the time, and he would give his monthly salary to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And later on, he left that job and just came fully to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had so much affection for him. I remember one past time when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was very, very sick, and he'd been on his bed for 2 or 3 days, and he hadn't sat up or eaten or anything. And then someone whispered in his ear, "Oh, your Kunja Bihari," this was his name previously, Kunja Bihari, "your Kunja Bihari has come to see you." And immediately he sat up, like had new life in his whole body. So this was the mood that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta and the love that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had for Kunja Bihari. And we know that when Srila Bihari was on one side and Ananta Vasudeva was on the other. So this was their, this is what actually happened. And when all the court cases had finished and so on, it was determined that Kunja Bihari should take the Chaitanya Mat in Mayapur, and Ananta Vasudeva would have the Bhagavazar temple in Calcutta. So they made a division like this. And then later on, Kunja Bihari, he took sannyas, and his sannyas name was Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj, who carried on the line of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So very prominent Vaishnava, and we're celebrating today his Abhirabhav. So all glories to Srila Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj Ki Jai. So now we're coming to our subject matter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we're reading through the introduction. And I've been reading for 4 days now through this introduction, and I think we'll complete it today. So I was considering how fortunate we are to hear this introduction. This was written in spoken rather. Thank you, Joy. Dandavas. This was spoken in 1967. So very early on, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is speaking these truths to the devotees. Straight away, he wants to inaugurate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. This was his initial mood And this was the mood that he carried on for his entire, practically 11 years, preaching in the Western world. He wanted us to understand the glories of Mahaprabhu. He is the Yuga avatar, and he literally brought this personality to the Western shores. We hadn't even heard of Krishna, what to speak of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I can remember personally, prior to coming to devotional service, I'd read the Bhagavad Gita, and I opened one day a Chaitanya Charitamrta, and I could not understand who is this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at all. So I was just appreciating deeply how dedicated and filled with compassion Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was. He came, or is, we can say, because we have the expression, he reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still in sound. So the Vaishnava is always alive, always present in his writings and teachings, and certainly in this case. So how compassionate was he to come to the fallen Western souls at that time, practically barbarians, no culture whatsoever, no understanding of Varnashram, no understanding of anything in the God, the line of worshipping the Lord, just with our hands out praying for something from God. This was the mood of the populace of the Western countries. But he came and he gave the most incredible philosophy that instead of asking God for something, ask him how you can please him. He described devotional service. He brought the Bhagavad Gita. Tesham satatam yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayadita. One who constantly worships and serves me, then Krishna will give the understanding by which we can come to him. So throughout his teachings, principally, he was preaching from the Bhagavad Gita. But now we are reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita together. So this is the final gift, basically, of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He gave the Bhagavad Gita initially, then he was continually giving his commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and now, I think it was starting in 1973, 74, he began to translate and speak his commentaries of this Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'm just feeling that we're most blessed to have this compilation given to him, given to us by him. So we're most fortunate. So we've been reading through so far. Yesterday we began to hear about the cosmic manifestation, because this is what's going to be described in this Chaitanya Charitamrita in the first few chapters. It's going to set us, balance us out, and show us how the cosmic manifestation, the creation from Mahavishnu Swami, etc. Mahavishnu, not Mahavishnu Swami, Mahavishnu, and Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So the last thing we spoke about was the 4 expansions, Sankarshan, Pradumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva. In this Sankarshan, Prabhupada is writing, this Sankarshan states Krishnadas Kaviraj in the 8th verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita is Lord Nityananda. So without a clear understanding of Nityananda, how can we come close to Sachinanda and Gaurahari? Everything is coming through Guru. Nityananda is Akhanda Guru Mula Tattva, Nityananda Ram. So everything has to come through this stream. Absolutely. Heino Nitai Binai Bai, Radha Krishna Paitenai. How can we enter Radha and Krishna Lila without the mercy of Guru and Nityananda coming through his causeless mercy? And Janavamata, because she carried on the teachings after Nityananda departed from this world. She established the pillars of the foundation of Mahaprabhu's mission and encouraged all the Bengali devotees at the time to establish the mutts and set everything on track with installing so many deities, etc., in Vrindavan in particular. So I'll carry on reading now. As stated before, the material universes are manifested by the Lord in the form of Mahavishnu. Just as a husband and wife combine to beget offspring, Mahavishnu combines with his wife, Maya, or material nature. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14:4, where Krishna states, Sarva yonishu kuntaya, murtaya sambhavanti ya, tasham brahma mahad yoniya, aham bij prada pita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. Vishnu impregnates Maya, the material nature, simply by glancing at her. This is the spiritual method. Materially, we are limited to impregnating by only one particular part of our body, but the Supreme Lord, Krishna, or Mahavishnu, can impregnate by any part. Simply by glancing, the Lord can conceive countless living entities in the womb of material nature. So we hear about the glance coming from Mahavishnu. Can we conceive of the glance that comes from Krishna towards Sri Radhika in Goloka Vrindavan? And what to speak of that Radha Kripa Kataksha glance of Radhika towards Krishna, which completely bewilders Krishna and puts him on his back practically. When Radhika was wrestling with Krishna, they arranged for a wrestling match at Bandiravan. In Bandiravan, Krishna challenged Radharani to a wrestling match. Radharani, dressed in her pantaloons and everything, had all her sakis holding her up and slapping her arms just like the wrestlers do. Krishna was doing the same with his sakas. And then as soon as they came out to face each other, Srimati Radharani just glanced one time at Krishna and he was on his back. And Lalita immediately declared Radharani victor. Immediately. So this one glance, what to speak, now we're just speaking about the glance in the material energy. Mahavishnu is glancing towards Maya Devi. And all this creation is manifesting. So we can have a little bit of appreciation for the glance that Sri Radhika is giving to Krishna, 1 billion times more powerful. This is the, simply by glancing, the Lord can conceive countless living entities in the womb of material nature. The Brahma Samhita confirms that the spiritual body of the Supreme Lord is so powerful that any part of his body can perform the functions of any other part. We can touch only with our hands or skin, but Krishna can touch just by glancing. We can see only with our eyes. We cannot touch or smell with them. Krishna, however, can smell and also eat with his eyes. We were speaking before about Achintya. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was talking about Achintya. Don't approach this topic thinking you can understand it with your material senses. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had a whole few paragraphs to speak about that. We are limited by our material senses, so all of this knowledge that we're hearing is achintya. Chintya is within the material mind, and achintya is beyond the conceivable mind. So we can't expect to have material understanding of these topics. We simply have to be submissive and appreciate these topics with faith, with shraddha. It's not that we can understand them. If you understand them, it's almost like you've attempted to control them, in a sense. Put it in your pocket. Yes, now I understand it. Now it's over. Close the book. But this is an eternal delving into the philosophy. It will go for our whole life. We'll be opening new doors of realization day by day, moment by moment practically sometimes, with the power of the holy name, empowering our consciousnesses to new awarenesses. So it's always fresh, ever fresh, just like Krishna himself. It's called Naveen Krishna. He's ever fresh, moment by moment, expanding. We don't have this in the material world. Things become mundane, humdrum, hackneyed, we say, the same old thing, the same old thing, the same. But in the spiritual dimension, nothing is like that. And when we connect with that dimension, we're completely inspired day by day to exploring new horizons in our devotion and affection and attraction to Radha and Krishna. This is the process. When food is offered to Krishna, we do not see him eating, but he eats simply by glancing at the food. We cannot imagine how things work in the spiritual world, where everything is spiritual. It is not that Krishna does not eat, or that we imagine that he eats. He actually eats, but his eating is different from ours. This is engendering respect by the conditioned soul initially for that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes individuals try to reduce that person to come to the same level as them, right? It's sort of like, then they think they can understand. But Prabhupada he's speaking, as I said yesterday, to very young devotees. These are all new devotees that he's delivering this lecture to in 1967. Who was an old devotee in 1967? They would have gone perhaps for maximum 1 year. Even when Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada left the planet, he was only preaching for about 11 years. So it's all very new, actually. Now, many years later, perhaps we've developed a little bit of understanding or maturity in our approach to the devotional service. But when he was giving this lecture, it was all, and this is the we sometimes perhaps think that, oh, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was just teaching ABCs. But that ABCs is turning the hearts of barbarians, basically, of uncultured, conditioned souls, and bringing them to Krishna. That takes tremendous force and energy and potency and purity, particularly purity. It's one thing to give the higher gradations of understanding and knowledge, of Rasa Tattva, etc. This is also very wonderful, but never minimize the potency that was needed to transform a conditioned soul into a person who was desiring devotion in his heart. That is phenomenal. That is such a gift that he gave to the Western world. It is not our eating process will be similar to his when we are completely on the spiritual platform. On that spiritual platform, every part of the body can act on behalf of any other part. That's interesting. Prabhupada is saying that when we come to the spiritual platform, we also will have those same qualities as Krishna. This is Achintya, Bheda, Abheda Tattva. We are one, yet simultaneously different from the Lord. We have the same potency in potential. And when this becomes manifested, just like in Krishna's pastimes, Sridham will defeat Krishna. Krishna is Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mahata. He's the supreme controller of everything. Yet Sridham is defeating him. But actually he doesn't defeat him. Because when he has him on the ground, Krishna says, but my nose is facing up in the sky. So actually I've defeated you. But when Krishna kills Kamsa in the arena in Mathura, the cowherd boys are all dancing and chanting, and they think that they could have killed Kamsa also. They're just as strong as Krishna. Krishna's no big deal. This is the mood of Vrindavan. This is Madhurya Ras. And this is what Mahaprabhu has come to give, this Raganuga Bhakti. This is what he's come to give us. But we begin with Vaidhi Bhakti. We start the entrance through this way. And even when we're performing Raganuga Bhakti, we still are performing the angas of Vaidhi. It's described that Raghunath Das Goswami had these angas of Vaidhi Bhakti engraved like a stone in his forehead. He would never transgress etiquette. My Gurudev was the same. Following carefully Ekadashis, following carefully all the various rituals, etc. that have to go on in the temple. Follow very, very carefully all these programs. We are on the path, it's called Vaidhi Rag Pravriti, when we are following Vaidhi Bhakti, but with the focus on Raganuga Bhakti. This is different to Vaidhi Bhakti. If we're just following Vaidhi Bhakti without the focus on Bhav Bhakti, it's described by the Acharyas, this sudden Bhakti is like zero. Because what are we performing our sadhana bhakti for? What is the intention of our sadhana bhakti? If it's not focused on bhav, it must be focused on bhav bhakti. Otherwise, we're just desirous of liberation, or material wealth, or some material pratishta, something of this nature. But our focus has to be on Bhav Bhakti, to be progressive. And this is Vaidhi Rag Pravriti Bhakti. We've got the focus on Bhav Bhakti. This is very important. This is all described in Rag Bhartman Chandrika, which we can layer over the top of what Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is saying. Vishnu does not require anything in order to create. He does not require the goddess Lakshmi in order to give birth to Brahma, for Brahma is born from a lotus flower that grows from the navel of Vishnu. The goddess Lakshmi sits at the feet of Vishnu and serves him. In this material world, sex is required to produce children, but in the spiritual world, a man can produce as many children as he likes without taking the help from his wife. So there is no sex there. Because we have no experience with spiritual energy, we think that Brahma's birth from the navel of Vishnu is simply a fictional story. This is what he's purifying. He's trying to put faith into the heart of the conditioned souls. First, he has to break any imaginary ideas, but he's establishing Siddhanta. And when this Siddhanta hits the heart, because it's the truth, the heart knows it's the truth. The heart of the conditioned soul is still absolutely pure underneath that conditioning. So when you hear for the first time, for example, on Harinam Sankirtan, if you hear the Hare Krishna mantra, it will penetrate even the conditioned souls. Even they don't know what it is, they can't understand it. Still, it has the potency. This Shabda Brahman is eventually what is the sound vibration of that holy name. Nothing can check it. And it'll act on the soul, ultimately. So it's not a fictional story. We are not aware that spiritual energy is so powerful that it can do anything and everything. We're very limited without understanding this philosophy. So these are the people that he was preaching to. My friend here, by the way, preaches in downtown Sydney. It has big programs all the time, Sankirtan programs, etc., in Australia for many, 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 many years. His name's Gyanesham Prabhu. Material energy is dependent on certain laws, but spiritual energy is fully independent. Spiritual energy has no boundaries. It's completely open. Everything in the material world is bounded by time, essentially, past, present, and future. Spiritual energy has no time, has no past or future. It's all in the powerful present. Countless universes reside like seeds within the skin pores of Mahavishnu. See, Prabhupada made this build-up, and now he's about to blow everyone's minds by telling them about Mahavishnu emanating all these unlimited billions of universes. If you're just hearing this for the first time, it can be just phantasmagoric. It's so amazing. But because of his praman prior to this, then the inquisitive student should at least give it attention, should give it his ears. Countless universes reside like seeds within the skin pores of Mahavishnu, and when he exhales, they are all manifested. In the material world, we have no experience of such a thing, but we do experience a perverted reflection in the phenomena of perspiration. We perspire from every skin pore. So Krishna is not perspiring here, but like perspiring from every skin pore, all these unlimited billions of universes are manifesting. Unlimited billions, not a billion, unlimited billions. We can't conceive even of a billion. What to speak of unlimited billions? So we have to leave our material, tiny little intelligence behind and accept the higher teachings. We cannot imagine, however, the duration of one breath of Mahavishnu, for within one breath, all the universes are created and annihilated. Beyond imagination, it's described. Beyond imagination. When we come into the realm of rasa, there's a verse that says, beyond imagination, heavy with wonder and shining in the heart with pure goodness. It's beyond imagination. So don't try to use our imagination, just accept the truths. This is stated in Brahma Samhita. Lord Brahma lives for the duration of one breath, and according to our time scale, 4,320,000,000,000 years. 4,320,000,000 years. We can't even imagine that at all. Constitute only 12 hours for Brahma, and Brahma lives for 100 of his years. Yet the whole life of Brahma is contained within one breath of Mahavishnu. Try to get the perspective on the entirety of cosmic manifestation. It's mind-blowing. It's very wonderful. We have to become completely submissive to appreciate it and accept it. This is not possible for us to imagine by the breathing power of Mahavishnu, who is but a partial manifestation of Lord Nityananda. Partial manifestation of Nityananda. We just spoke about the importance of Nityananda. This is a partial manifestation. There is Nityananda, then there is Sankarsha, then there is the Chatuvyuha, the second Chatuvyuha, then there is Lord Narayan, and then the Purusha avatars are coming from Lord Narayan like that. But they're all manifesting ultimately from Balaram Dev, who is the embodiment of what? The Sandhini Shakti, the existence potency. He is creating the existence for all creation to manifest. This Sandhini Shakti. And ultimately that Sandhini Shakti is manifesting from Swarup Shakti. This is but a partial manifestation of Lord Nityananda. This, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, explains in the 9th verse. In the 10th and 11th verses, Krishnadas Kaviraj describes Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, successive plenary expansions of Mahavishnu. Brahma appears upon the lotus growing from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and within the stem of that lotus are so many planetary systems within the stem of the lotus. Lord Brahma creates the whole of the human society, animal society, everything. Kshirodakshaya Vishnu lies on the milk ocean within the universe, of which he is the controller and the maintainer. Vishnu is the controller and the maintainer. Thus, Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the maintainer, and when the time for annihilation arrives, Shiva will finish everything. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is going systematically, very simply, painting a picture of the material creation, which is going to be gone in great detail by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. He's preparing us for what's about to come. In the first 11 verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami thus discusses Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Sri Krishna himself. So first of all, we are accepting Krishna and his pastimes, and then we are accepting Krishna has manifested again as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radha and Krishna combined. It's a quantum leap initially, especially for the conditioned souls just coming. But it doesn't take a lot of time to assimilate this because of the power of the holy name. The power of the holy name is broadening our consciousnesses day by day. And if we're taking that nectar beverage, then our consciousnesses are going to accommodate all these truths very easily. Mahaprabhu as Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Lord Nityananda as Balaram, the first expansion of Krishna. Then in the 12th and 13th verses he describes Advaita Acharya, who is another principal associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, and an incarnation of Mahavishnu. Thus, Advaita Acharya is also the Lord, or more precisely, an expansion of the Lord. The word Advaita means non-dual, and his name is such because he is non-different from the Supreme Lord. He is also called Acharya, teacher, because he disseminated Krishna consciousness. In this way, he is just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although Lord Chaitanya is Sri Krishna himself, he appeared as a devotee to teach people in general how to love Krishna. Actually, that's the sum and substance. He's appearing as a devotee to teach us how to love Krishna. Krishna didn't teach this. Krishna just relished his Lilas. Lila Purushottam. He was just relishing in the groves of Vrindavan. And practically no one was understanding what he was doing. No one was realizing what he was doing in Vrindavan. People remember Krishna as Parthasarthi on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But historically, they were not able to have access to Vrindavan until Mahaprabhu advents. It's only by Mahaprabhu's grace that Vrindavan Dham is manifested to the sincere student of Mahaprabhu in this world. Vrindavan was always there, and great saints and poets like Jayadev Goswami, etc., are glorifying Vrindavan in Gita Govinda. But what did they know of Parakiya Ras? Because without Parakiya Ras, Braja Ras doesn't really have any significance. Braja Ras is about Parakiya Ras, about the surrendered mood of the gopis, about the love of the gopis for Krishna. This is what Mahaprabhu is teaching us. He's teaching us about the gopis' love for Krishna. Not even Krishna has the same love as the gopis have for him. This is why we are in the anugatya of the gopis. We are following them to understand their love. Mahaprabhu himself wanted to understand their love, Sakhi Bhav, in the mood of Radha. This is the science. Although Chaitanya is Sri Krishna himself, he appeared as a devotee to teach people in general how to love Krishna. Similarly, although Advaita Acharya, the Lord, he appeared just to distribute the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Thus, he is also the Lord incarnated as a devotee. So, Advaita Acharya is also appearing for the same reason. In the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, Krishna is manifested in 5 different features known as the Pancha Tattva, to whom Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj offers his obeisances in the 14th verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna and his associates appear as devotees of the Supreme Lord in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Acharya, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu, and Srivas Prabhu. In all cases, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the source of energy for all his devotees. Since this is the case, if we take shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the successful execution of Krishna consciousness, we are sure to make progress. In a devotional song, Narottam Das Thakur sings, my dear Lord Chaitanya, please have mercy upon me. There is no one who is as merciful as you. My plea is most urgent because your mission is to deliver all fallen souls, and no one is more fallen than I. Therefore, I beg priority. This mood has to be there. We have the verse, Trinada pi sunishena, Taroda pi suhishena, Amanina manadena, Kirtanya sadahari. We cannot really enter this chanting without these moods of Sharanagat, without these moods of humility. It's not possible. So just by accepting Mahavishnu, for example, and the cosmic creation, we have to become humble to accept that. Humble from the material point of view, and accept the higher realization, the higher truth, and give up this lower empiric philosophy, they call it, when it's bound by the material mind. With verse 15, Krishnadas Kaviraj begins offering his obeisances directly to Krishna himself. Krishnadas Kaviraj was an inhabitant of Vrindavan and a great devotee. He had been living with his family in Katwa, a small town in the district of Burdwan in Bengal. He worshipped Radha and Krishna with his family, and once when there was some misunderstanding amongst his family members about devotional service, he was advised by Nityananda Prabhu in a dream to leave home and go to Vrindavan. We know this story. It's described, Krishnadas Kaviraj, of Mini Kirtan Ram. Mini Kirtan Ram, he breaks his flute in anger with the pujari, Gunanava. And his brother is taking the side, Krishnadas Kaviraj's brother, Sham, is taking the side of the pujari. And Krishnadas Kaviraj gives him so much argument and is very angry with him. And that night he has a most wonderful dream. Lord Balaram appears in his dream as Nityananda Prabhu. It's Nityananda Ram appearing. There's a palm frond on his flag, and he's swaying as if he's intoxicated, is described on a beautiful chariot, and completely mesmerizes Krishnadas Kaviraj, and he orders him, you should go to Vrindavan immediately. And what does Krishnadas Kaviraj do? Immediately, without taking anything, he immediately leaves his home and goes to Vrindavan Dham. When I went to this place of Jamatpur, it's called, and we met some older people of the family, they told us that Krishnadas Kaviraj, he had this dream in his youth, when he was young, when he was a teenager. And if you do the calculations of Rupa Goswami's birth dates and Raghunath's birth dates, you see that Krishnadas Kaviraj had to be there in his young age to actually have darshan of Rupa Goswami and hear the teachings of Raghunath Das. So he went in his young years, not in his older years. While he was there, he met some of the Goswamis, principal disciples of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He met Rupa and Raghunath. This is where this is coming from. This Chaitanya Charitamrita is coming directly from the heart of Rupa Goswami, infusing into the heart of Krishnadas Kaviraj, and the teachings coming from Swarup Damodar that have come from the lotus-like mouth of Raghunath Das Babaji, Raghunath Das Goswami. So these two personalities, Rupa and Raghunath, Krishnadas Kaviraj glorifies at the end of every single chapter. This is where this source is coming from. We always have to substantiate our praman in any offering of Siddhanta, etc. So this is Krishnadas Kaviraj's praman, is Rupa and Raghunath. He was requested to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita by the devotees of Vrindavan, although he began this work at a very old age, because prior to this, he had written Govinda Lilamrita, which is such an incredible work describing the Astakaliya Leelas of Radha and Krishna, the same as the Bhavanamrita by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He wrote that later. But these two descriptions of Krishna's eightfold pastimes throughout the day are essential for the devotees to know the pastimes that are taking place in Krishna Lila, which were never ever broadcast prior to Mahaprabhu. I said at the very beginning, there was no Rag Anganuga Bhakti prior to Mahaprabhu. We are following Mahaprabhu. This is the gift he's giving. Today it remains the most authoritative book on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy and life. There was a time when one person, they asked Srila Prabhupada, why did you translate the Chaitanya Charitamrita and not the Chaitanya Bhagavat? And he answered, because the Chaitanya Bhagavat, or the Chaitanya Charitamrita, is more authoritative. There are more quotes directly on Shastra in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Bhagavat is the most sublime text written by the Vilas of Chaitanya era to give us the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But this is coming practically at the same time, because originally this was called Chaitanya Mangal, or rather the Chaitanya Bhagavat was called Chaitanya Mangal, sorry. And no, let me get this straight. Lokan Lochan Das, he was writing Chaitanya Mangal. So this was going to be called Chaitanya Bhagavat. And Vrindavan Das Thakur was his book was going to be called Chaitanya Mangal. But actually it's described that his mother, who is Narayani, who was given that prasad by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was with him his whole life in Denur. That's the place where Vrindavan Das Thakur resides. And she said, no, we should call this Chaitanya Bhagavat. So this became Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is the understanding here. Today it remains the most authoritative book on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy and life. When Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was living in Vrindavan, there were not very many temples. At that time, the three principal temples were those of Madan Mohan, Govindaji, and Gopinath. Those Thakurjis hadn't left for Jaipur yet. They were still there when Krishnadas Kaviraj came. As a resident of Vrindavan, Krishnadas Kaviraj offers his respects to the deities in these temples and requests God's favor. My progress in spiritual life is very slow, so I'm asking your help. In the 15th verse of Chaitanya Charitamrta, Krishnadas Kaviraj offers his obeisances to the Madan Mohan Vigraha, the deity who can help us progress in Krishna consciousness. In the execution of Krishna consciousness, our first business is to know Krishna and our relationship with him. When we remember Madan Mohan, we remember the Acharya, Sanatana Goswami, who is representing Sambandha Gyan, this relationship with Krishna. You'll always see that Madan Mohan has particularly attractive lotus feet. Every time you see a murti of Madan Mohan, and even here the Pratibhu deity is so beautiful. The original deity is in Karoli, on the way to Jaipur. But this deity is non-different, Pratibhu. It's like a reflection of the original deity. In the 15th verse of Chaitanya Charitamrta, Krishnadas Kaviraj, to know Krishna is to know oneself, and to know oneself is to know one's relationship with Krishna. We can't know ourselves without knowing our relationship with Krishna. We have a huge weight of they call it the New Age philosophy, where they want to know themselves, self-realization without Krishna. How can that ever be successful? It'll just become focused on the Brahman, or liberation, or mukti. So this is not the highest goal for humanity at all. Since this relationship can be learned by worshipping Madan Mohan Vigraha, Krishnadas Kaviraj first establishes his relationship with him. When this is established in the 16th verse, Krishnadas Kaviraj offers his obeisances to the functional deity, Govinda. Govinda is the Abheda. Govinda is giving us entrance into these pastimes. And who is the Acharya? This is Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami, through his teachings of Ujjvala Nilamani, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and all the works of Rupa Goswami, Vidagdha Madhav, Lalit Madhav, etc., are all inviting us to understand the path, the entrance into this Bhav Bhakti. With Govinda, however, there is actual acceptance of service. Govinda resides eternally in Vrindavan. In the spiritual world of Vrindavan, buildings are made of touchstone. The cows are known as Surabhi cows, givers of abundant milk, and the trees are known as wish-fulfilling trees, Kalpavriksha trees. For they yield whatever one desires. In Vrindavan, cowherds of Surabhi cows. In Vrindavan, Krishna herds the Surabhi cows, and he is worshipped by hundreds and thousands of gopis, cowherd girls, who are all goddesses of fortune. When Krishna descends to the material world, this same Vrindavan descends with him, just as an entourage accompanies an important personage. Because when Krishna comes, his land also comes. Vrindavan is considered to exist beyond the material world. Therefore, devotees take shelter of the Vrindavan in India, for it is considered to be a replica of the original Vrindavan, Boma Vrindavan we call it. Although one may complain that no Kalpavriksha trees, wish-fulfilling trees, exist there, when the Goswamis were there, Kalpavrikshas were present. It is not that one can simply go to such a tree and make demands. One must first become a devotee. So who will consider himself a devotee? Any real devotee will never consider himself a devotee. He always thinks he's the devotee of the devotee of the devotee. Das, Anudas, Anudas, Anudas. And even then, he's not even Anudas. So we're not considering ourselves as devotees. The Goswamis would live under a tree for one night only, and the trees would satisfy all their desires. What does that mean? My Gurudev explains that the trees would relate the different pastimes that were happening around them. Every tree in Vrindavan, old tree that's more than 500 or 600 years old, has so many pastimes of Krishna stored in its consciousness, and it would reveal those pastimes to the Goswamis. They would spend one night under a different tree to show their mood of renunciation, to having no fixed home. At the same time, they would hear the pastimes described by the different trees, these personal Kalpavriksha trees of Vrindavan. They're very personal. If you speak to them, you will get a response. If you speak to them with honor and respect, they'll hear you. For a common man, this may seem all very wonderful, but as one makes progress in devotional service, all this can be realized. And we especially, when we read and tune into the teachings of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he writes about so many mystical occurrences with all the land of Navadvip, for example. And Navadvip is non-different to Vrindavan. Navadvip is Gupta Vrindavan. It's the same. So we can get an appreciation by hearing from Bhakti Vinod Thakur and his mystical realizations of the land indicating different pastimes. So we can connect these two. Vrindavan is actually experienced as it is by persons who have stopped trying to derive pleasure from material enjoyment. This is it. This is what we spoke about yesterday. When will my mind become cleansed of all hankering for material enjoyment, so I will be able to see Vrindavan? So material enjoyment manifests in so many millions and millions of different ways. Billions of subtle and gross desires are there, which need to be purified. And if our focus becomes focused on the supreme beauty of Vrindavan, then all those material desires will just dissolve and just disappear. One great devotee asks, the more Krishna conscious we become, the more we advance, the more everything is revealed as spiritual. Thus, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami considered the Vrindavan in India to be as good as the Vrindavan in the spiritual sky. And in the 16th verse of Chaitanya Charitamrta, he's talking about the first chapter here, he describes Radharani and Krishna as seated beneath a wish-fulfilling tree in Vrindavan in three different ways. Jayatam Surato Bango, Mama Madag Madekadis, Mat Sadaveshwa Padambojo, Radha Madana Mohana, Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadurmada, Srimad Ratnagarasan Simasansto, Shishi Radha Govinda Devo, Prestalabdi Sevi Manami, Shriman Rasa Rasambrambi, Vamsiva Tatastita, Karsna Vanis Vani Gopi, Gopinath Stiyastana. So these three prayers we can recite daily when we visit these three deities. These are written by Krishnadas Kaviraj. These prayers are composed by Krishnadas Kaviraj, who is empowered by Madan Mohan. There, Krishna's dear gopi friends serve Radha and Krishna by singing, dancing, offering betel nuts and refreshments. Some people try to say it's betel. A betel nut would be with an A in there. B-E-A-T is betel, but B-E-T-E-L is betel. That's how we pronounce it, right? Betel nuts, not betel nuts, betel nuts. Betel, correct? Yes? Betel. How you say? Betel nut, yes. And decorate their lordships with flowers. Even today in India, people decorate swinging thrones and recreate this scene during the month of July, August. Generally at that time, people go to Vrindavan to offer their respect to the deities there. Finally, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami offers his blessings to his readers in the name of the Gopinath deity, who is Krishna as master and proprietor of the gopis. When Krishna played upon his flute, all the gopis or cowherd girls were attracted by the sound and left their household duties, and when they came to him, he danced with them. These activities are all described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. These gopis were childhood friends of Krishna, and many were married, for in India the girls are generally married by the age of 12. The boys, however, are not married before 18. So Krishna, who was 15 or 16 at the time, was not married. Nonetheless, he called these girls from their homes and invited them to dance with him. That dance is called the Rasa Lila dance, and it is the most elevated of all the Vrindavan pastimes. It's the crest jewel of Krishna's pastimes. It's the, in the Rasa Panchadya, these 5 chapters are like the life heirs of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the most respected Shastra in existence, practically. It's the compilation of all the Brahma Sutras is coming in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So how can there be any fault with this Srimad Bhagavatam? So if we see any fault with this Rasa Lila, then our vision is actually unpurified and defective. So we should read this with great care. That dance is called the Rasa Lila dance, and it is the most elevated of all the Vrindavan pastimes. Krishna is therefore called Gopinath because he is the beloved master of the gopis. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami petitions the blessings of Lord Gopinath. May that Gopinath, the master of the gopis, Krishna, bless you. May you become blessed by Gopinath. The author of Chaitanya Charitamrta prays that just as Krishna attracted the gopis by the sweet sound of his flute, he will also attract the reader's mind by that transcendental vibration. This is why Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has given us this compilation in English. There was no compilation of Chaitanya Charitamrita before. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada gave it to us. He gave it to us to attract our minds to him. And certainly in later years, as our practice as devotees, this Chaitanya Charitamrita will bring us so much satisfaction and peace reading through these beautiful pastimes. So that's the end of the introduction and the forward. So I think we've created a platform to enter into this Chaitanya Charitamrita now. So I'm just going to read now the forward or the introduction to the first chapter. So we'll keep going, and the first chapter is titled The Spiritual Masters. So I'm going to read the introduction here, which is describing what is going to take place in the first chapter. So the title is The Spiritual Masters, Chapter 1. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than the combined form of Sri Radha and Krishna. He is the life of those devotees who strictly follow in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami are the 2 principal followers of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, who acted as the most confidential servitor of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Vishrambar, in his early life. So we see in the Gambhira, there is Swarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda. This is like Lalita and Vishaka, who are there to support Mahaprabhu in his mood of Sri Radha. Sri Radha directly is Gadadhar. Gadadhar Pandit is across the other side from the Gambhira, near the ocean, near the Chatak Parvat sand dune, with the Tota Gopinath deity. And Gadadhar Pandit can never enter the talks at the Gambhira. She is directly Radha, because it would create conflict. Mahaprabhu is wanting to taste the mood of Radha, but if Radha is actually sitting there, that would not be possible. So instead, he's immersed in the Sakhi Bhav of Sri Radha, and he's encouraged in that mood by Lalita and Vishaka, who is Swarup and Rai Ramananda. These are the topics that we're going to unpack in the next 12 months or so through this Chaitanya Charitamrita. So going to Puri is very inspirational for the devotees to appreciate that very small room, chamber, where Mahaprabhu spent practically 18 years of his life and 12 years very intensely, just in that small place. In his early life, a direct disciple of Srila Rupa Goswami was Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, stands as the direct disciple of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, because every single chapter he concludes with glorifying Rupa and Raghunath. So this is where this current is flowing through. That current of those pastimes is described were held in the throat of Swarup Damodar, and he passed all those confidential teachings into the heart of Raghunath Das. Raghunath Das kept large notebooks himself, opening out those truths. Raghunath was in Puri for 14 years. He saw directly Mahaprabhu's ecstasies when he went into the Goshala, when he climbed out of the Gambhira and somehow got through 3 walls and fell in the Goshala like a tortoise, foaming at the mouth. All his limbs had come inside. The devotees were absolutely shocked. These were exhibitions of the highest sattvika bhavs conceivable that could not be contained in his body. His body couldn't contain these moods. When Mahaprabhu, when Krishna was begging this mood from Sri Radhika, Radhika told him at that time, "You will not be able to withstand my bhavs." And his body could not withstand those bhavs. They had exhibited like a tortoise, never seen before. This is actually Aishwarya Bhav. This is not Madhurya, because it's outside of Nara. It's outside of human-like pastimes. The direct disciple, oh yes, I said that. The direct disciple of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was Srila Narottam Das Thakur, who accepted Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur as his servitor. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur accepted Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, the spiritual master of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who in turn accepted Sri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, the spiritual master of Om Vishnu Pak, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, the divine master of our humble self. So before beginning any compilation, you must have your line. Where are you coming from? Who are your masters? What is your praman? For example, in Christianity today, we don't have these lines. In Islam, you don't have those lines. These are Kali Yuga religions. They're giving the populace something to sort of go on, some ideal, but it's not coming from the direct Veda. It's not coming from the direct source. Therefore, these Kali Yuga religions have some impurity within them, always contentious and fighting and so on. Since we belong to this chain of displic succession from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this edition of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita will contain nothing newly manufactured by our tiny brains, but only remnants of food originally eaten by the Lord himself. Most important, that this is the full, absolute truth that is going to be manifested here. Nothing concocted whatsoever, nothing interpolated. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not belong to the mundane plane of the 3 qualitative modes. He belongs to the transcendental plane, beyond the reach of the imperfect sense perception of the living beings. We've discussed that at length. Even the most erudite mundane scholar cannot approach the transcendental plane unless he submits himself to transcendental sound with a receptive mood. For in that mood only can one realize the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What will be described herein, therefore, has nothing to do with the experiential thoughts created by the speculative habits of inert minds. The subject matter of this book is not a mental concoction, but a factual, spiritual experience that one can realize only by accepting the line of displic succession described above. Any deviation from that line will bewilder the reader's understanding, and the mystery of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita which is a transcendental literature meant for the postgraduate study of one who has realized all the Vedic literatures, such as the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra, and their natural commentaries, such as Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. This edition of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is presented for the study of sincere scholars who are really seeking the absolute truth, not just flowery words, but the absolute truth sincerely. It is not the arrogant scholarship of a mental speculator, but a sincere effort to serve the order of a superior authority whose service is the life and soul of this humble effort. It does not deviate even slightly from the revealed scriptures, and therefore anyone who follows in the displict line will be able to realize the essence of this book simply by the method of oral reception. The first chapter of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita begins with 14 Sanskrit verses that describe the absolute truth. Then the next 3 Sanskrit verses describe the principal deities of Vrindavan, namely Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Radha Govindadev, and Shri Radha Gopinath. The first 14 verses is a symbolic representation of the supreme truth, and the entire first chapter is in actuality devoted to this single verse, which describes Lord Chaitanya in his 6 different transcendental expansions. I'll leave it there for today, and we'll just conclude this last couple of paragraphs on Monday, just to get us into the picture to enter into the first chapter. So Prabhupada is making a very authoritative foundation and base. He's not allowing any type of speculation or imagination to enter into our appreciation of this text. He's laying it down very authoritatively, very beautifully. He's an empowered personality himself. So he's giving us this empowerment. He's empowering us by his words to appreciate this text and honor all, with all devotion, we are capable of generating within us to enter into these beautiful subject matters. Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavebhacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.